Alright guys, it is a new day in the shop, and it has actually been a week and a half, almost a week and a half since I've been out here. The last week or two have been absolutely nuts. So the weather started to get decent, and I needed to get the Ford ready to go, the Fummins. Fummins needed some rear brake lines. I've had them on the docket to do since last spring. Got the front ones done last spring, so I said, alright, before we get the Fummins out, we're going to do these brake lines. Got those all hammered out. While I was under there, I discovered that the main leaf on the passenger side is broken. So I said, oh, all right, well now we got to get the truck up to the spring shop, get the main leaf replaced, and probably have the spring packs serviced. Braided stainless, pretty new brake lines and calipers, new leaf springs. Oh man, we're ready to haul some stuff. We got that taken care of. Then we had some severe storms go through. Took trees down. What a mess. So I'm out there cutting wood, and the saw's running fine, and then the saw starts acting up. So then I tear the saw apart, and going through the saw, I can't figure out what's wrong with it. Rebuilt the carburetor, did a bunch of other stuff, blah, blah, blah. Had to get a little science-y to try to diagnose what was going on with it. I can show you what was going on there. Alright guys, so I thought you might be interested in some of the sciencey stuff that's going on behind the scenes in the shop, and this is Old Reliable, my Steel 026 Pro saw. I make all my firewood with this saw, and I've been having tuning issues with it, so I bought a Walbro 194 upgraded carb for it. This is an EPA saw that they only sold for about a year, maybe two. And such that it has the EPA carb on it that only has the low-speed jet adjustable, and the high-speed metering is fixed. So anywho, to rule out any other potential issues, I wanted to make sure the crank seals were good, etc., etc. So I wanted to do a vacuum and pressure test on it. I did hook my vacuum gauge to it through the impulse line on here, but I've been having some issues with my vacuum pump, and I just wasn't confident in the reading I was getting. So I took my blowgun here. I've got my air compressor set to 10 psi on the regulator, and I've got 10 psi sent to the impulse port here. I'll get you right in here so you can see. And then I have a pressure gauge attached to the intake with the intake manifold on this, the rubber intake boot as they call it. So I'm testing everything simultaneously. And then I've got this plumbed into a pressure gauge here. You can see I'm holding 10 psi. And then the exhaust port here, I don't know if you can see in there or not, but no, you can't. But I've got a piece of rubber, you can see it over here a little bit. I got a piece of rubber sandwiched between the muffler body and the exhaust port to seal up the exhaust port. So this is a sealed system right now. So essentially I'm testing the crank seals, I'm testing the decompression valve, I'm testing the spark plug seal, I'm testing the intake boot, all of it, to look for any air leaks, to make sure that an air leak isn't what was causing my tuning issue. And thus far, we're holding 10 psi steady. It's been sitting here for probably about 10 minutes at this point, and there's no air to it at this point. The blowgun's just sitting there. It's off. So just thought you guys might be interested in this. You know, sometimes you got to do some problem solving and try to figure out what's really wrong with something, so you're not just chucking parts at it. And of course, you know, I didn't want to put an upgraded carb on here and, you know, do the performance modifications on this and then smoke a crank bearing because I've got you know, an air leak around the crank seal. But anyway, thought you guys might be interested in seeing this. Keep spinning wrenches. Ended up doing a Walbro WT194 carburetor upgrade, the muffler mod. It's a steel saw, and boy, if that ever wake that thing up, she runs nice now. So that was an improvement. And man, there's just been a ton of stuff going on. So we're finally making it back out to the shop. We need to dive into this transmission for the Doodlebug. But before we can do that, we got to take a run to the local Dollar General. And we're back. Did a little grocery shopping. Got ourselves some Works toilet bowl cleaner.
On the outside of the toilet.
Cleaned them right out. It was all they had in stock. So I've been doing a lot of contemplating with this transmission and how we're going to tackle this and, you know, what the best approach is. I drifted into the whole sciencey area where we could get really weird with it and do some experimentation. And, you know, I decided to try something old school first. There's a lot of old restorers slash, you know, antique tractor, antique whatever, machinery enthusiasts. They used to swear by freeing up stuff with toilet bowl cleaner. And specifically, the Works toilet bowl cleaner from Dollar General. Some of you are probably nodding right now going, yeah, heard of that. And some of you are probably scratching your heads going, what on earth is he talking about? Well, in toilet bowl cleaner, if I can get this to focus here, the main ingredient, hydrogen chloride. It will dissolve rust. It is nasty stuff. So we're going to take this and we're going to dump it into the transmission. We'll probably let that soak as is for a little bit, and then we'll dilute it down with water to bring the level up and let it soak a while longer. But before we can do that, the transmission has a massive rear main seal leak. We tested that, I don't know, a week or two ago, and I'm sorry, didn't film it, but trust me, it leaks bad. So we're going to try to figure out something to plug that seal up, and I think we're going to grab the transmission and move it over to the lift table so we can get it right up in our teeth, so we're not crouched over on the floor messing with this thing. So let's get to it. Yeah. Yeah. That's much better. Now that we got this up in our teeth, I can show you this is the seal that's leaking, or lack thereof. And this is likely due to the fact that the bearing for the input shaft here is completely shot. So this was hucking around in there and probably chewed the seal up.
You sure about that?
So I think we will probably pull this back cover off and see if there's something that we can stuff in there and then bolt the cover back on to help seal this up. This shaft appears to be free. Your output shaft appears to be free. We do have some lash in there. The input shaft seems to be seized, and the cluster shaft at the bottom is seized. So we need to fill this pretty much right up to the brim. There is a pinhole in the back of that bearing cover, so I'm hoping we can get some gunk in there and see if we can free that up, and we'll see what happens. So first, let's get this seal retainer off. All right, guys, so this is what I've come up with. I discovered that this is nothing more than a slinger, so never going to hold volume if we filled it all the way up to the top. Anyway, so took some silicone gasket maker and made a nice big bead of silicone weld around that. So we're going to find out if that's going to hold or not. But for some added precaution, we're now going to lower the table back down and transfer this to our movable moat, just in case stuff goes wrong. All right, now that we got this in our little dike over by the door, we gotta wait 24 hours for the silicone to set up. I hate waiting. I'm impatient like that. So 24 hours, we'll fill this up with our goo, and then we'll give it, I don't know, another 24 hours, 36, 48. We're gonna give it some time to chew on that rust and see what happens.
Eventually.
All right, so it's actually been 36 hours because life happens. So let's get this caustic solution in here and wait another 36 hours or 48 or however many.
You're shaking more than once. We know what you're doing.
I decided to do one more. I had to dive into the name brand stuff now. The gel. Cling gel. Yeah, this will get on the gear teeth nice. Yeah, chew on that rust. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add the water. You guys tell me if we spring a leak, okay? Oh no, we're leaking. Darn. But we're not leaking where we put the seal in. Looks like we're leaking right through the output shaft. That's annoying. Well, we didn't foresee that one. But hey, our silicone's holding, so that's a plus. Well guys, I think this is as good as we're gonna get. We've got the top shaft 3/4 submerged, so that's just barely leaking. So as it slows down, I'll just keep dumping that back in over the top shaft, hopefully get some acid down over those splines, and we wait. So I'll check back in with you in I don't know, couple of days.
1 week later.
So we're getting movement, and I'm using, this is just a mild steel punch, chisel, if you will, whatever you want to call it. You don't want to use anything that's as hard or harder than the gear teeth, because we do not want to damage the gear teeth. That would make all this futile. So you can see how soft this is from me hammering on it over time. And I'm trying to be gentle. I'm not just railing off on this thing. I'm just gently tapping it, and we're finally starting to get some rotation. The input shaft let go first, and now we're getting movement out of the cluster shaft. We'll just keep working at it. All right, guys, well, we got about 180 degrees of rotation, and if you wondered whether this works or not, this is your indication. The bottom half of that input gear is shiny bare metal. So we'll just keep picking at this. We'll get a full rotation out of it, and once it starts to loosen up, we'll siphon the fluid out of it, and then we will put the shifter stem down in that same fluid and reuse it for that to get the forks freed up.
1 eternity later.
All right, guys, so we got a full revolution out of this now, and you can see how nice and shiny those gears are that were submerged. So I've got them all turned 180 now, so the other rusty side is down in the liquid. Unfortunately, we lost quite a bit of liquid out of the front bearing once things started spinning, so it is what it is. But we'll at least chew off what rust we can off the top side, let this pickle for a little bit, and we'll keep working at it, little by little. Patience is a virtue.
The next day.
All right, guys, so it's been 24 hours, and with this sitting 180 degrees rotation from where it was before, I just want to show you this. That's by hand. No tapping, no nothing. She's loosened right up. So this is awesome news. So at this point, I think we will go ahead and pump all of the liquid out of it into a bucket. We can move on to the top cover to loosen up the shift forks. We'll set that down in the bucket, and we'll get some, at least spray some WD-40 on this to, you know, stop the flash rust after we pump all this fluid out of it. So hang tight. Hey guys, this might seem cringy, but we got to get all the toilet bowl cleaner out of the trans, and this is also going to help us get some of the junk that's sitting in the bottom out as well that might get plugged in the drain plug. So grit your teeth, we're going for it. Oh yeah. Get right in there. Try not to get this in the face. Look at the mud that's coming out of there. Golden. For any of the naysayers out there, we're gonna go ahead and rinse off the catch pan that transmission was sitting on. And this is just from the drippings from the trans. There you go. That's all shiny bare metal. That's just from the overflow. No scrubbing, not really a lot of time soaking, just some overflow. We were trying to get the gears free. Hydrochloric acid for the win. Alright guys, so unfortunately our gear selection is still frozen up. I got the reverse selector freed up. However, the gears on the output shaft are still frozen to the splines on the shaft. So I'm resorting to just doing some heat cycles on this, but I'm doing it kind of in reverse. So what I've been doing is heating the main shaft itself and then squirting WD-40 in against the flange on each gear so it'll suck it in between the shaft and the gear itself. And the theory behind this is that when I heat the main shaft will expand, and hopefully it will crush any corrosion between the gears and the main shaft, and then as it cools, it sucks the WD-40 in, it releases, and eventually we'll hopefully be able to get these free. Each time it cools off, after it's done with a heat cycle, I'm again taking this mild steel chisel and just tapping on the gears each side down at the base of them. You don't want to get into this flange for your shift fork or you will chip that. Tapping a few times, rotating 180, tapping a few times, rotating 180, rinse and repeat. So I'll show you what I've been doing here just so you guys can kind of get a visual of what's been going on without being bored to tears.
Few moments later.
Alright guys, so it's not for lack of trying, but tapping on these just isn't going to cut it, unfortunately. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to pop this yoke off the back. There's a bolt in the center that holds it on, and we're going to take this bearing retainer out, and we're going to open up the whole back of the transmission. We're going to pop the bearing retainer off the front, and we're going to pull the input shaft out. That needs to come out anyway because we need to replace that bearing between the input and the output shaft. We're going to get that all out of the way, and then I think what we're going to do is we're going to take the whole transmission and we're going to flip it up on end and set it up in the antique mechanical press over here with a sleeve and see if we can push the shaft out of the gears and get things freed up. Because it's time for more force than I can put on it with my little hammer and soft chisel. And if none of that made sense to you, just follow along and watch, because you're either going to see this be a success or you're going to see me break something. Either way, it'll be entertainment for you, and it's free. How can you beat it? All right, guys, I'm calling it. We got the input shaft and bearing pressed out, but these gears are not moving. And, I guess it's just short steel now. I'm just kidding. That's sacrilege. We're not giving up, but I do got to get a video out to you guys, and we're fresh out of time. I'm already behind schedule. So we're going to have to throw in the towel for now and reassess this situation. I've had a few thoughts about this, and I'm sure there's a couple of you out there that are wondering why I haven't put the oxyacetylene torches to this thing, and well, that's because my regulator is broken on the oxygen tank. Got this thing all torn apart right now. I can show you what's wrong with it. So these are the guts out of the center plunger assembly, and this little fella right here that threads into the seat assembly right here. This little seal, this is the second time this has failed in a year, and I'm thinking this is just junk Amazon parts, so I'm gonna have to do some homework to try to get a better seal for it. But anyway, we're out of commission on the torches right now. If you want to see a video on these regulators and how to rebuild them and whatnot, drop it in the comments. I'll be glad to do one for you. Otherwise, we're going to skip over that and get back to this transmission. Anyway, guys, we got to leave you on a to be continued cliffhanger on this transmission because this is where we're at. We're stuck. I got to take some time and reassess this situation and try to figure out how I'm going to get those gears freed up on that spline without breaking something, because kidding aside, I really don't want to break it. We kind of need to use it. So if you guys are appreciating this content and the old iron that we're rescuing and bringing back to life against the odds, remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and share the videos too. Any of that stuff really helps the metrics of the channel. Thanks guys for watching. I appreciate it very much. Keep saving the old iron.